says, no, 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 none of that. Oh boy, and then they have Kumano faces Kakazan? Good heavens. That's the dream. Greetings, everyone. I'm glad to be here, and I'm glad that you are here. Today, we're going to be playing some Magic the Gathering Arena, as always. And boy, oh boy, are we having a great old time doing it. This deck, I have very cheekily dubbed the Birds. After, of course, the classic story there. And why? Why do we do that? Well, because honestly, in this deck, as silly as it may sound, Suntail Hawk is the primary finisher, or at least the way of slamming the door. Suntail Squadron, 4 mana instant, which can come up, folks. Conjure a card named Suntail Hawk into your hand. If you have fewer than 7 cards in hand, repeat this process. Does that mean you get 2? No, it means you fill your stinking hand. So, one of the problems with mono white, traditionally, especially if they're kind of more aggressive style mono white decks, is you end up running out of action and you don't have reach. The same thing is true of mono red, where a lot of the time you've likely been in a top deck war with mono red. If you're in a top deck war with mono red though, and they're at, let's say, you know, you're at 4 or something, they're only a couple of shocks away from you dying. You could have a 4/4, a 5/5, and a 6/6, and you're getting ready to kill them, but if they just top deck, you know, a couple of shocks in a row, you lose the game, right? That's what they call reach in the in the industry here. And the problem with mono white is you could get them down to that same position at 4 life. They might as well be at 20 life, right? Because you don't have the ability to deal that direct damage to their face and end the game, right? Well, with Suntail Hawk, it is not direct damage, but if you can just put 4 1/1 flyings down to the board all in one turn, they have to have very specifically like a board sweeper, Meat Hook Massacres or Day of Judgments, something like that, to get rid of them. But if you were empty-handed, which you often end up being empty-handed near this stage of the game, even if you deployed all 4, next turn you just put 3 more down. Okay, you have another board sweeper? Like, how have they gotten to this stage of the game? Okay, yes, it's going to be very difficult for this deck to beat 2 or 3 or 4 board sweepers. That's true of every creature deck. But outside of that, like, it gets pretty sketchy. It's also notable, folks, that they are oftentimes larger than 1/1s. Wedding Announcement, we have 4 copies. On the flip side, all your creatures get +1/+1, so they can easily be 2/2s, but we also have Benalish Marshals, so other creatures you control get +1/+1, so they're often 2/2s there as well. With 8 copies of this effect, it is very, very regular that we can just deploy 4 or 5 2/2s all in a turn with flying. That's a quick lock. I don't care what life total you're at, right? So yeah, we're trying to take advantage of this Suntail Squadron card that we've been fooling around with. What else are we doing? Well, honestly, we're playing a bit of kind of hate bears style deck. We have the Brutal Cathars and Skyclave Apparitions that you're likely accustomed to seeing. But we're also playing a few other, you know, kind of cards you'll likely you've likely seen before. They're commonly played cards, but maybe not all in the same place. Esper Sentinel, whenever an opponent casts their first non-creature spell each turn, draw a card, unless that player plays X. So again, kind of hate bearsy. One of the newer cards, Archivist of Oghma, 2 mana 2/2 flash. Whenever an opponent searches their library, you gain a life, draw a card, right? So we're kind of hating that out as well. But then we've also got Containment Priest, 2 mana 2/2 flash. If a non-token creature would enter the battlefield and it wasn't cast, exile it instead. So this is obviously here for collected companies, things like that, but it also gets the Brutal Cathars. When we exile their creature and they come back, if it wasn't cast, it gets exiled. Well, okay, so they don't get their creature back. But notably, we are also running some Fragment Realities, and this is definitely a really cool card. It's quite possible we should have all 4 Fragment Realities, and it's possible we're supposed to have all 4 Containment Priests. We'll see how the deck plays. You know, we'll see. But 1 mana, exile target, non-token, artifact, creature, or enchantment. Its controller puts a random creature card with lesser mana value from their library onto the battlefield tapped. If it wasn't cast, exile it instead. So, rather than doing that, though, we are running the Patriar's Humiliation, 1 mana instant. Target creature perpetually loses all abilities Then the Humiliation deals damage to an equal number of creatures you control. So this is oftentimes just straight removal, but it also is kind of sneaky. It gets reanimation creatures, things like that. Yeah, okay. We'll have to figure out a way to handle your Elishnorn or whatever. But if we can perpetually make Elishnorn lose all of its abilities, it loses its vigilance, it loses the creatures +2/+2, -2/-2 stuff. That's a lot more manageable. Right, we might be able to find a way of handling that, but it also handles other kind of you know, more esoteric abilities like the combat abilities, first strike, things like that, where, you know, maybe we don't even get to kill the creature, but if we can take away its trample or things like that. So it's possible, though, the Patriarch's Humiliation is just supposed to be all Fragment Realities. We wanted to run some of the Archivists, so we're not on 4 Containment Priests, but again, it's also possible we want to be doing that too. Notably, the only other cards that are really interesting here are the Remorseful Clerics for Graveyard Hate, Kabira Takedowns that are padding our land count. We're actually only running 20 lands, but with the Kabira Takedowns, we're on 23. We really shouldn't be having mana problems here, not with this low a curve. The only other really interesting one here is Hushbringer. There are some non-bows in the deck. Specifically, the Brutal Cathars and Skyclave Apparitions are essentially shut off. They are a primary removal suite. With these 6 other removal cards, and then these 3 additional, we're on actually 9 other removal, plus the 7, we're actually on 16 removal spells, which is a lot. So shutting off some of them is okay. The deal is, Hushbringer can be very, very relevant in the format. And if we're playing a Hate Bear style deck, I don't think we can play without it. The good news on this card is, a lot of the time, if it doesn't matter and it's going to be shutting our stuff off, it's oftentimes when we'd want to be using these cards and can't, our opponent's going to be aggressive anyway. They're going to be playing mono reds, mono greens, things like that. And we'll just block with it. Gain a life, let it go away, and then we can turn our creatures back on. It is possible this non-bow is just not worth it. Maybe Hushbringer just doesn't belong, and it could be our extra Containment Priest, that just like that, and that's fine. But I do think for now it is strong enough that maybe we should give it a try. So without further ado, though, let's give it a go and find out, shall we? All right, folks, we're up against Weimer. Good luck, Weimer. And I mean, this hand does not seem great, unfortunately. Always hate mulliganing on the play, because it's like, you know, yes, my time has come. We're going to try and take advantage of the situation. And then, you know, you just end up mulliganing, you know, but it is what it is. Just feels like a missed opportunity is all, right? So the opponent goes the Murktide Pathway and a Stitcher Supplier, huh? Well, that's not ideal. Opponent has Unburial Rights. Okay, well, we do have Graveyard Hate. Do we just don't have it in our hand? So, you know, we'll see. Opponent gets in with Stitcher Supplier. Okay. Oh my goodness. Not strictly ideal. Please, we would really like Wedding Announcement to resolve. Okay, it does. All right, thank heavens. I was gonna say, if they have a counterspell for Wedding Announcement, we just are doing stone nothing this game, and it feels terrible, right? But okay, Wedding Announcement is good. Nope, we'll take it this time. Okay, Suntail Squadron is not terrible. So we're just gonna go ahead, deploy a Benalish Marshal, crash in for 2, get another 2/2, pass the turn. Our opponent, likely to be getting back Olivia in the not too distant future, could do so as soon as this turn, but doesn't have another thing to reanimate, and that's of course why we weren't blocking the Stitcher Suppliers. You know, we just didn't want our opponent to have that freedom, right? So, all right, Esper Sentinel, come down. All right, well, we are going to attack. Our opponent is going to block, unsurprisingly. Yep. These things all happen. Opponent going to mill over several more things into their bin. One of them being a Jin Gitaxis. All right. That seems like a pretty tempting reanimation target, but our opponent is disciplined and goes for Faithful Mending instead. They do allow us to draw a couple cards. They gain a couple of life. And wow, okay. Interesting. So let's go ahead and get in. Opponent takes it all the way down to 7. It's quite possible, folks, we were supposed to go after the Celestis to prevent them from having white mana. But we also can Fragment Reality their other things as well. So, you know, I think this is fine. If they go for Sarah's Emissary on instant, we would be a little disappointed. Obviously. Okay, so the opponent lets us draw a card. On creature. This is kind of what we expected. Alright, so pass. Alright, so... Okay, they do allow it to happen. And they get a Stitcher Supplier tapped. These things are acceptable as far as we're concerned. We get to turn back and play a land. Oop. Nope. Okay, we can't. I'm sorry. And attack. Okay. For a minute there, I was thinking, oh, we can play around a removal spell here with the Cave of the Frost Dragon, but we actually could not do that because, you know, too much mana. Math is hard, folks, but we got the win anyway. GG, Weimer. GG. All right, folks, here we are up against Sneeko C, and yeah, good luck, Sneeko C. I think we will keep this hand, and we will start with the Esper Sentinel. Just since we're on the play, Esper Sentinel is much, much better than when it is on the draw. It definitely makes it so your opponent, you know, has to play a little awkwardly from time to time. And so we're just going to make a land drop and pass for turn 2 as well. Going to plan on Containment Priesting, unless we feel like we need to Kabira Takedown. And folks, we feel like we need to Kabira Takedown. So get rid of that creature for sure. And just play a land. Esper Sentinel going to crash in. And is it Remorseful Cleric? I think it is. Even though we want to Containment Priest and, you know, have Brutal Cathar down at the same time sort of thing, I think this is just the better play because it allows us to be aggressive as well. You know, if they play just another ground creature or something, maybe we Brutal Cathar it or something like that. But the fact that we also have the option to continue attacking is nice as well. Opponent does deploy a Battlecry Goblin. Interesting. So... yeah, folks, I'm afraid that our opponent's just going to have removal here. So let's Remorseful Cleric attack. Opponent has Play with Fire, lets us draw the card. That's nice. Don't mind if I do on that. So actually, hey, this is okay. Fragment Reality on the Battlecry Goblin, but since we have Containment Priest, they don't get a 1-drop. It just gets exiled. So Fragment Reality coming in clutch there. Pretty happy about that one. And Thundering Raiju. Oh, that stinks. All right. You got it. No attacks. Or, I mean, no blocks. All right, well. Brutal Cathar. Eat a Thundering Raiju. These two attack. Opponent now facing down 5 power and 16 life apiece. Of course, it will be tempting for our opponent to hit that Brutal Cathar because they think they're getting their creature back when they're not. They do pay, but Containment Priest says, no, 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 none of that. Oh boy, and then they have Kumano faces Kakazan? Good heavens. That's the dream. So, Benalish Marshal, join the party. Still have 5 power now, and we crash in. Opponent down to 11. The next creature they cast gets a 1/1 counter. And Runaway Steamkin entering with an extra 1/1 counter already. It's kind of nice for our opponent. And Bloodthirsty Adversary showing up adds another 1/1 counter. Of course, no spells get cast, and the Bloodthirsty Adversary can't really do any additional things either. So we're just going to go ahead, Kabira Takedown the Runaway Steamkin. And... yep. Humiliate the adversary. And then crash in, dropping our opponent down to 3. We're at a very healthy 15, folks. And Kumano faces Kakazan gets exiled because the Containment Priest and our opponent just really, really fresh out of luck there. GG, opponent. GG. All right, folks, we are up against Netware. Good luck, Netware. And yeah, I think we're going to keep this. I wouldn't say it's like amazing or anything, but you know, it's got some of our Hate Bear pieces, and you know, that's what we're here for. So opponent goes Temple Garden tapped. We get to go with an Esper Sentinel on turn 1. So at least we're first on the board, right? That's nice. Opponent gets a Prosperous Innkeeper and gets a treasure out of the battlefield. Well, okay, we're presented with an opportunity here to either Kabira Takedown or Hushbringer. It just shuts down the end of the battlefield effects anyway. But then we also can't attack with the Esper Sentinel. So I think we should just Kabira Takedown, be able to attack, you know, make use of our mana, right? And see if they want to fire off any kind of removal or anything at the Esper Sentinel, depending on what they're playing. Whoa, boy. Collected Company shows up, lets us draw a card. How many things do you get? A Heliod and a Soul Warden. Well, okay. Hushbringer shows up. Now, that is a pretty nasty non-bow with our own Brutal Cathar, but it's literally for this matchup. That's why we have Hushbringer, folks, is to stop all of these end of the battlefield effects. And leave the battlefield effects, as it were, right? Oh no! Please tell me we're not locking up. Arena! Alright, folks, so we're back. Arena crashed. Our opponent thinks we're, you know, roping them and stuff. I assure you, we are not. But we are back, and that's okay. So let's just hang on for dear life. Gain a little bit of life as well. Opponent drops to 16. We are go back up to 16. Opponent has Lunarch Veteran. Nothing happens. And our opponent gets in with the team. Sure. Well, we will Archivist. And block. And take 7. All right. Yep, these things are fine. Down to 9. Not thrilled about it, but it is what it is. Opponent does gain enough life to be able to throw a counter onto the Soul Warden. Of course, Voice of the Blessed going away. We will Containment Priest. And we get another land. Well, that's not strictly ideal. So we're going to go ahead and attack with a Hushbringer. And see what our opponent gets up to over there. Just a little bit of combat with Daxos and the Heliod. Yeah, well, we block. Opponent gives Daxos lifelink. We Eiganjo it. And it trades the Containment Priest. We drop to 5. They go back to 19. Counter goes on to the Soul Warden, unsurprisingly. Rest in Peace draws us a card. Wedding Announcement. That's a good one. All right, all of the graveyards go away. Hey, and a Containment Priest? That's kind of nice. So, combat, get in there. And Wedding Announcement. Prevents the things. 6 life is pretty precarious, particularly since our opponent is at 18 already. But, you know, it is what it is. Skyclave Apparition, no! Darn it. It doesn't exile anything, but it has plenty of devotion, which is problematic, because then the Heliod comes back on and gets to attack with impunity. Admittedly, at least the Wedding Announcement is, you know, bringing out creatures that can help chump block for quite some time. Oh ho! Okay. Well, we're going to Suntail Squadron. And not attack. Make a dude. Nothing happens. And opponent has a forest, 2 cards remaining in hand. And attempting to make a combat step out of this. Okay. One gets in with Heliod and Skyclave Apparition. We will. Patriar's Humiliation. Yep. Giving lifelink. Yep. We will block. Block. And all of the things go away. Scurry Oak shows up. Well, fine. So we're just going to go ahead and go with Esper Sentinel, Suntail Hawk, Suntail Hawk, Suntail Hawk, Suntail Hawk, combat, gain life back, wedding announcement, make a dude, and flip. All right, opponent, what have you got? This is, you know, I love it, folks. So, okay, again, I want to stress that I do recognize the non-bill between the Brutal Cathar and the Hushbringer and things like that. Like, that is, you know, obviously a thing to watch out for in this style list. That is why we don't have very many of the Hushbringer, right? Obviously, because it also gets us. But when you look at the cards in our list compared with the cards in our opponent's list, we just don't have that much that really matters there. And I think they're all powerful cards enough on their own. If this had been another matchup where Hushbringer just doesn't do anything, then we just don't play it, right? But I think its inclusion, considering the prevalence of these life gain style lists, does make it at least worthy of consideration. All right, folks, here we are up against RDL. Good luck, RDL. And, you know, not an amazing hand by any means, but, you know, we're going to keep it. We're hoping we're not up against something like Mono Red or something that's really, really taken off. Though, admittedly, Containment Priest does kind of get Kamano Faces Kakazan, if that's... Oh, come on. Okay. So, Mono Red on the play is never a good place to be, you know? And as if it weren't bad enough that it's mono red on the play, we're, you know, our opponent goes with Beaumont Courier instead of the card I was just talking about, how Containment Priest kind of does a good job against them, you know? Oh no, folks. Oh boy. Alas, it is what it is. Opponent has Runaway Steamkin. All right, fine. Going to get in with the Beaumont Courier. Part of me just thinks we should Fragment Reality this Runaway, or this Beaumont Courier. The problem with that is the Runaway Steamkin also kind of runs away with the game. But this also prevents some damage. It prevents card advantage later on. We have other answers. And there's not an unreasonable opportunity that our opponent, you know, walks into the Containment Priest here. So they'll then be forced to use a removal spell on our Containment Priest that they otherwise would have maybe wanted to, you know, save for our face here. Well, they do have a 1-drop, not ideal. Okay, sure. Well, we're not going to chump block with Containment Priest, I can tell you that. Opponent goes top with the Scry and gets in for 3. You got me. Containment Priest, join the party. Well, okay. I mean, Esper Sentinel Kabira Takedown is really tempting here, but I think we just gotta take the Runaway Steamkin off the board. And Yeah, I mean, I guess we're gonna attack because we're not gonna be blocking the Soulscar Mage. It presents too many problems there. They immediately they just 2-for-1 us almost 100% of the time there. They kill our Brutal Cathar, getting back a 2-2, or getting back a 1-1, and then they, you know, eat our 2-2 with the Containment Priest, or with the Soulscar Mage, our Containment Priest there. So that's just, yeah, as it is. I was gonna say, almost certain they get their Runaway Steamkin back, but at least this way, you know, we're not getting blown out or anything, you know how it is. But of course, our opponent, not realizing that Containment Priest shuts down their Brutal Cathar, right? So I kind of expected them to respond with a removal spell on our Containment Priest as well. To be honest, I'm flabbergasted here. You know, that's all right. Seems like a good opportunity for wedding announcement. I guess they must have not realized the interaction between Containment Priest and Brutal Cathar. I mean, that's the only way that makes sense. We're just, you know, expecting to get a bunch of removal spells pointed at our stuff, I guess. Opponent, clearly with a removal spell. Or an instant speed something. I guess maybe it's a pump spell that they were saving or something. I still think the most likely scenario is it's a lightning strike effect or a shock effect. And they just forgot about Containment Priest eating the Brutal Cathar token, right? That's thing. All right, so Containment Priest gets in 4-2. We make a 1-1. Opponent draws a card for the turn. Do you make a land drop, RDL? No. They do shock the 1-1 and get in. Interesting. Okay. Maybe we're supposed to attack here first, actually. All right. Opponent. Going to Lightning Strike Brutal Cathar. Okay. Do we... I'm not blocking with the Containment Priest here. Let's make another dude. I think we will chump block with the 1-1. Runaway Steamkin. Then we won't chump block. Because I think we're going to use Kabira Takedown here. Okay. And I think we would rather just make another dude to go wide, I think. This is an awkward situation for our opponent, I think. They've only got 2 cards in hand. It is likely at least one of them is a burn spell. But, oh boy, yeah, I was gonna say, it's not abundantly clear that that helps them, you know? So, Benalish Marshal are gonna show up. Growing the team. This is lethal. Our opponent does elect to block, unsurprisingly. We're just going to develop the board with another Esper Sentinel, and I think our opponent's in a lot of trouble here. 3 cards in hand. Yeah, I was going to say, with only 3 mana, it doesn't seem likely that they can muster 9 damage at our face. Wouldn't be unrealistic to believe they had 8, you know, like, or maybe even the 9, just not the mana to deploy it. So either way, very close game, RDL, very close game, GG. All right, folks, here we are up against Asdays 26. Good luck, Asdays 26. And yeah, I think we'll keep this. Just a little bit awkward, because we're on the play and we want to be able to capitalize on that, but we don't have any 1 or 2 drops, really. We have a reactive 1 drop, technically, but you know what I mean? Like, we don't have a way of really getting on the board early or anything, which is awkward, but is what it is. Opponent goes with playing Sunpel Grove, though, which means they also didn't capitalize on the early turns. So fine, we'll just deploy a Benalish Marshal, which is normally in here as the Anthem effect more than anything, but, you know, whatever, man. It's obviously accomplishing the task we set before it by being a 3/3 as well. So let's Brutal Cathar, get rid of the Prosperous Innkeeper, and crash in for 3. Opponent down to 17. We now have interaction available and 6 power. That's a relatively robust board presence, you know. Okay, so Daxos arrives. And Heliod? Is that what's going on here? Skyclave Apparition. Okay. What do you get? Our Brutal Cathar. Okay. These things are awkward. So let's get our Skyclave Apparition back. Oh my gosh, they get a Voice of the Blast? Oh, well, I should have considered that. Should have let all those life gain triggers resolve, I guess. Geez. That was not particularly ideal. So let's go ahead and attack. Oh ho! Opponent! Not respecting the fact that we could have removal, falls directly into our trap, and we Brutal Cathar away the Voice of the Blast. And then they lose their Daxos because they lose the Devotion, right? So didn't really expect our opponent to fall into the trap, but they did, so we are pretty happy about it. Opponent has collected company. Yeah. So let's just exile those, shall we? Yep. Opponent's like, you are kidding me right now. Selfless Savior joining the party. You got it. Gains another life up to 16. And reading our Containment Priest. Does not want to attack the Prosperous Innkeeper, I don't think. In fact, does not. Okay. Yeah, holding up Kabira Takedown is pretty good. Let's just go ahead and Esper Sentinel. You know, push the attack all button. Just get him into the red zone here. Opponent needs to consider chump blocking because this is just a lot of damage. Doesn't even bother activating, which I don't necessarily blame them for. It's not like it really accomplishes anything. If we kill the Prosperous Innkeeper, the game likely ends anyway. But we're not going to worry about doing it just now, right? We're going to wait because they need to have something, right? Esper Sentinel draws a card, kind of nice. Opponent with the Ajani Strength of Pride, going to make a Pride Mate. Does. We're going to kill it. Opponent going to gain their life up to 8. And it's not looking good, opponent. Indeed, it's not. So GG, as days. GG. All right, folks, here we are up against Dead Luma. Good luck, Dead Luma. And yeah, I mean, okay. Containment Priests and Brutal Cathars and Esper Sentinels. Like, this is the game plan we've signed up for. So, you know, can't complain when we see it. Esper Sentinel going to crash in there. Of course, going to plan on a Containment Priest at the end of the turn, almost regardless what they do, right? Wow, they go with a Hall of the Storm Giants. That leads me to believe they're doing, like, Jeskai-ish things, which we're not strictly thrilled about. I don't think we're going to have a very good Jeskai control style matchup, right? Either way, we pass the turn. Opponent now confronted with 3 power on board. We're concerned they could have, you know, yeah, inconvenient. Like Anger of the God style stuff, things like that. Opponent goes with Esper Sentinel. Inconvenient. So we're going to go with the wedding announcement here, but I think we do want to draw the card. Opponent trades off Esper Sentinels. What is our opponent doing? I do not know. Okay, Fragment Reality is a good one. What are you doing with Esper Sentinel in your deck, Dead Luma? What is going on here? Okay, opponent Divine Purges. I mean, not the end of the world by any means. So let's just wait. Wedding announcement makes a dude. Opponent on 12. We're, of course, planning on Containment Priest. So, you know, we'll see. Expressive Iteration. Sorcery. Looking at the top three, gonna put one to the hand, one on the bottom, and then exile one that can be played this turn. Very, very regularly, just, you know, 2 mana, draw 2, essentially. You know, you make your land drop with it or whatever, right? Opponent has a Lightning Helix. Fires it off on the 1/1. These things are not surprising. We're just going to allow these things to happen. They do go up to 15, which we're not thrilled about. You know, that's a pretty comfortable life total for them, I think. Interesting. Archivist of Oghma. Probably not going to be super great in this matchup, but that's okay. Wedding announcement, going to make a dude and flip. Opponent 6 cards in hand. 5 mana available. Land drop as well. Thinking about things, is staring down 5 power, which is, you know, that's a robust board presence to be sure. And especially considering they know 3 more likely on the way. So they'll be staring down 8 power by this time next turn. Opponent has Mizzix Mastery. For another Divine Purge. Don't care for that much, but it is not the end of the world by any stretch of the imagination. The Mizzix Mastery is likely, you know, their primary game plan, I would guess. So forcing them to use the Mizzix Mastery in this manner is, you know, kind of a win for us, I think. Yeah, well, you know, let's just plan a 6 mana 3/3. A 4 mana 3/3 is a Hill Giant. What's a 6 mana 3/3? I don't know. Not ideal, but the fact that it's only temporary removal here, really coming back to bite our opponent. They're down to 5 cards in hand now. 10 life. We're the ones with a board presence and then Wedding Festivity growing our creatures. They're, you know, likely going to be fishing for answers here because they don't have any big spells to reanimate here. No. Ooh, opponent does get a land drop. Magma Opus or anything like that, which is the things they traditionally want to be doing over there. Goldspan Dragon. Okay. You gonna attack with that, friend? They do. Well, let's just Fragment Reality it. But you get nothing. No. Oh. Yeah. I meant, like, let's go to the end step. Click to the end step so we can cast our Activist. That punt going to haunt us for real. It very well could cost us the game. Just because we would have swung for an additional 3 here this turn. And boy, oh boy, would we like to have been able to do that. Oh, man. Shoot. One of those things doesn't happen in paper, but gets you here. Gets you here for real. Feeling pretty not great about that one. But alas, you know, misclicks happen. Ah, shoot. Man! Alright, Expressive Iteration. Digging more. That card is so strong, folks. They have cast 3 of them this game. That does not make us happy. Opponent going to Lightning Helix. Yeah. Boy, boy, would I like to have another 3/3 on board. Oh, man. Jeez. Okay. I'm sorry. Mizzix Mastery, number 2. Opponent, thinking about it. Yeah, we're not going to give you a chance to kill our Containment Priest with your Mizzix Mastery. If you want to fire it off, you're going to have to do it. At our face. Yeah, because what they want us to do is they want us to cast Containment Priest, and then they Mizzix Mastery the Lightning Strike is very likely the plan. And they finally decide that it's just not worth it. They would rather save it for later on. And Containment Priest going to show up on the end step. Do you have another one out of hand? They could have a Lightning Helix from hand. And opponent. Thinking about it, does allow the turn to get passed. Okay. Well, let's do combat first. Containment Priest. Hits for 3. Remorseful Cleric joins the party. All right, fine. It is likely that we end up sacrificing the Remorseful Cleric to exile their graveyard here, but I think that's also just fine. Opponent does have Hall of the Storm Giants available now as well, which we're not thrilled about, but we've got some Suntail Squadrons showing up in the not-too-distant future as well. Opponent doing some math, because of course they won't be able to Hall of Storm Giants and do a bunch of other things. You know, it's kind of one or the other. Opponent plays Dwyer Runes land drop, unsurprisingly. Yep. Going towards the end step, does elect to do that thing. We go Archivist of Oghma. Joining the battlefield. And our turn. Opponent, thinking about it. Going to Magma Opus here. Does not have enough damage to do all the things they want. Very adroitly going to kill off the Remorseful Cleric, so we can't, you know, do what we want to do, so to speak. Do we care? Yeah, let's just do it now. These things are fine. You got me. You got me. Yep. We get a land. Fine. Brutal Cathar. Eat a 4/4. And Dead Luma scooping them up. Thank heavens, folks. That misclick almost cost us the game. Because keep in mind, this whole time, they've been battling just to have enough removal, or just to have enough removal to keep the one Containment Priest in check. If we had had a second 3/3 banging away, that would have made things very, very challenging on our opponent indeed. As it turns out, it didn't end up mattering, thank heavens, but holy cow. That could have easily been the end of the game quite some time ago. Of course, our opponent scooping, not just because they're going to take 6 here. That's, I'm sure, disconcerting. They have plenty of cards they could draw, more Magma Opus, things like that. They almost certainly have a way of flashing it back, you know, with the Mizzix Mastery in their hand, I think, even. But they understand that's not going to be enough. They get to kill one creature and get nothing back. The thing they can't beat is all these Suntail Hawks. They're all 2/2s, especially not when we attack them here. They drop to 1. even if they handle our creatures, you know, turn after turn after turn, the fact that all of these are 2/2s, they cannot handle that kind of card advantage. So they are scooping it up, and I don't blame them. Good game, Dead Luma. Good game. Welcome back, folks. Welcome back. And boy, we had a great time. Honestly, the deck did really well. It exceeded expectations, honestly. We ended up going 7-4 with it. We didn't show you all of the games, primarily because we played against mono red like over and over and over and over and over. It was honestly a little bit tilting. That we just kept facing the same deck over and over and over and over and over and over and over. So that wasn't super gratifying. We also played against life gain quite a few times. And you know, I don't know. We were just trying to show you interesting games that had interesting things happen. The only other game that we lost was against a Simic Flash deck, and honestly it was pretty close, but they just had infinite Night Pack Ambushers, and you know, they're just very large creatures, so they just block really well and attack really well. So it is what it is. It wasn't a super interesting game either. And again, we're just trying to show you games that are interesting. But on the whole, again, and I want to be very clear with everybody, right? Like, this is, you know, I would never want to mislead anybody in the win rate. This is a good deck, I think, but it did not have a perfect win rate. It's just the games that we want to show you or anything, right? Notably, it was very good on the play, and much less good on the draw. When we were fooling around with it, we won almost every game on the play. And we just didn't, we didn't win every game on the draw, right? So, no, actually, let me look at these stats. No, yeah, we won literally every single game. We have 100% win rate on the play. Believe it or not. We went, yeah. So that's silly. That's very, very good. You definitely want to be on the play with this deck. We did not win every game on the draw. As a matter of fact, on the draw, it was much, much worse. Admittedly, that's partially because we faced off against mono red so many times, right? Mono red on the play is just a ridiculous deck. It's very, very strong. And no deck in the format wants to be on the draw against mono red, because your chances of winning are very small. So I don't know. As far as how the deck performed, though, I don't know. Honestly, the Containment Priest, Fragment Reality, Brutal Cathar thing and stuff came up pretty often. I was actually surprised how often it came up, and I think it is quite possible that, yeah, we should just have the full 4 Containment Priest, possibly even the full 4 Fragment Reality. Very good. As far as the rest of it, the Remorseful Cleric did come in really handy against the one graveyard deck, and we had another graveyard deck matchup that we faced off against that didn't end up mattering in. But we definitely wish we'd had it. So it's either possible we just want to cut them all, just forget this card, and go all in on whatever else is going on here. Or we just want more, I think. I'm not sure that 2 is the right number, because it was such a strong card. Notably, with the flying, I think it's very relevant, right? Just having a little bit of evasion, becoming a 3/2 flying with either the Benalish Marshal or the Wedding Announcement was very, very strong. And it does just help us scoot that extra little bit of damage. I worry that maybe it's supposed to be a 1-drop of some sort just to get on the board earlier. So I don't know. The Hushbringer non-bow did also show up. Admittedly, the only time it showed up, we won because Hushbringer was doing its crazy thing against life gain. So I'm just not sure if it belongs for sure or not, right? I would like to play more games with it and get some really definitive analysis on whether or not it's okay that it's disrupting our game plan a little bit occasionally. Because when it's shutting off your entire opponent's deck, pretty strong. Admittedly, it's not shutting off every opponent's deck. And so it does have a little bit of non-bow in our own deck, so maybe it's really not worth it. Maybe it is just supposed to be more Containment Priest. I was really hoping we would find some clarity in the games. Oftentimes, when you build a deck and you play it, you're surprised. Sometimes pleasantly, sometimes unpleasantly surprised. This one was no exception. But it surprised me just enough that I'm like, oh boy, this is better than I thought. But it also didn't, it wasn't just a slam dunk. So I really don't know. I'm tentatively of the assumption, or of the belief, that Hushbringer should go. What should it go for? That's tough. That's really tough. The Activist, not a human. The Sentinel is. The Containment Priest is. But the Remorseful Cleric's not a human. Brutal Cathar is. As is the Benalish Marshals. But then the Skyclave Apparitions are not. And then the Suntail Squadron. None of the birds are. However, it is possible you could go with a little more tempo plan here. And maybe pull these. And go with like Fragment Inspectors, perhaps? Maybe the Activist just isn't good enough. The Flash was quite strong. I really can't complain. But what if we went like this, went another with Containment Priest, and just went with all of the Thalia's Lieutenants, perhaps? Maybe. It's also possible. I mean, this is a Hate Bears deck without Thalia, right? Maybe we're just supposed to have Thalia. Thalia is a really stupid card. Like, it's very, very strong, and particularly in the historic format. Holy cow. The only reason we didn't have it originally is we are running, again, all those removal spells I believe we talked about in the initial part of the deck tag portion of the stream. Non-creature, 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 non-creature. We're running a lot of non-creature spells, so I think it's a little bit of a non-standard Hate Bears list. I would love to see what you guys do with it, because there is something here. This is... What we saw in those games was very, very strong. Just consistently putting our opponents in an awkward spot and bringing the beat down. So I would be really interested to see if you guys are able to tweak the list a little bit, maybe make it work and see where you come up with it. That said, it was a blast. I would encourage you folks, come on over to the Twitch channel. We have a great time. There are some other videos on the YouTube channel here with me doing Twitch things, and you can kind of get an idea of what goes on in that Twitch stream. I'd love to meet you. I'd love to get to know you. It's always a blast getting to know you viewers and stuff. So thanks a lot, and I will catch you all next time.